Night Forest is a game ritual of memory and embodiment and self-discovery.
Night Forest is a game where we play a group of memories who are wandering through the forest at night. At the start of the game, each of us gets a candle and a book of matches and a card. Then we go into the woods, or it could be a park, or a parking lot, or
A creepy old house.
a creepy old house. And when you are by yourself, you light your candle and you look at your card. And each card has a gorgeous illustration and a word on it that you use then to inspire a memory.
And you let it appear, but also change and shape shift a little bit.
It grows and alters as you meditate on it while you're moving through the woods. Eventually, you will come to another memory, like you wandering through the woods. I would tell you my memory, and you would tell me yours. And while we're sharing these memories, we're each just silently witnessing the other.
And it isn't a conversation. I'm not asking questions or saying, wow, that's so cool.
Cool memory, dude.
Wow, you're just listening and then telling and being listened.
Yeah.
And then we switch cards.
And then we trade cards. And now I have this new card, and I go off by myself again, and I look at this card, and I think of a new memory, and the process repeats. So we wander, meeting, sharing memories, trading cards, until you get a card back that you've seen before. When that happens, you blow out your candle, and you are now a forgotten memory. And the forgotten memories continue to wander the woods, following the other memories that are still living and staying out of the candlelight and listening to their stories that they share.
And so it's not like once you blow out your candle, the game's over for you or you're out or something. You've just transformed and take on a new role of only witnessing and holding space for other people. So you're no longer sharing memories, but you still have a very active role in the game.
One thing I love about playing Night Forest is how it gives us permission to just be silent, witness each other, and be witnessed by another. And to know that you can say what is on your mind and no one's going to be waiting to interrupt you or questioning what you're saying or waiting for their turn to speak, just knowing that I'm just here for you, you're here for me, and we're going to share these stories together, and that's it. And then we're going to go and do that with someone else. It's this really great gift that we can give each other.
I really appreciate how non-linear it is. When you're with the person and they're telling you the story, you're just listening to the story, and you don't know what's on their card or anything. You're just listening to the story. And then after that, you trade cards and you get the card. And for me, there's this kind of like backwards thinking, this almost like reverse engineering. I understand the person more deeply after they're already gone, because now I'm alone with this card. I'm like kind of retracing.
That's where that came from.
Yeah, retracing the footsteps of where they got to, and then I'm also left with the opportunity to do that for myself and to have that experience, and knowing that I'm going to tell this story to someone and that I'm going to give them the card, which is this other depth of understanding, but I'm not going to be there with them when they have that. So it's non-linear, but it's also this like really strange form of intimacy.
The game is very much about taking you into this world, and the same way that as the sun sets, we're taken from the day into night. Entering the forest gives the participants the experience of transitioning from their normal space to the ritual space of the game. We enter the forest at dusk. As time progresses and it grows darker, the space kind of transforms, and now, whereas in the past you could see pretty easily even without your candle, now you are starting to have to rely more on your candle for light. And as the space transforms, we are transformed and we are brought further into this world.
There's this strange phenomenon of using the candle that when you're walking through the woods with a candle, it actually kind of inhibits your vision. And so there's this brightness and you can see other people, but it's not actually illuminating your path the way a flashlight would. It's creating this focus of light that drowns out the whole world. And all you can see is this light until you're with another person, and then all you can see is their face. And I think a flashlight or another source of light would just blind the person or like show a path. It would be much more like, I'm trying to get from here to there, rather than creating this ambiance and also creating this kind of intimate vortex.
Totally, because a flashlights are directional. They shoot a beam ahead of you, and a candle is a radiant source of light, and it illuminates everything around it equally. It's something that you have to care for. You can't run through the woods with a candle, it'll blow out. And
you don't have the control of turning it on and off. You have to treat it a certain way. It's a relationship.
It's living. The flame is a living spark that you're actually carrying into the woods in the similar way to we're asking you to carry this spark of memory on this journey through the woods.
Sometimes you might get a card that says mother, and that might just bring up a lot of pain for you or trauma, and all the memories that you're thinking of are not pleasant.
It's like a safety valve.
Yeah, and you don't feel comfortable sharing these things. And so it's an invitation there to come up with a memory that you do want to share and rewrite a story for yourself that does feel safe and good and comfortable, and that this can be a space where you don't have to make yourself completely vulnerable. It can actually just be a space where you can write a new narrative for yourself or play or imagine. Memory is a tricky thing. Sometimes we think of a memory and don't realize that it's an imagined memory. And a lot of times we make up what happened or invent little pieces of what happened all the time. Or if we're telling a dream, we might embellish little details and maybe on some level recognize we're doing it, but not completely. And I don't think that that's dishonest or even bad. I think that a lot of times that's actually a doorway to our imagination, and we can find out things that are truer than fact.
Each card features a piece of art that Mo drew and a word. And the word and the piece of art are intended to pull at each other a little bit. We don't want it, it's not like there's just like a picture of an apple and then the word says apple.
If you think of a dream, you'll have an image or something happening, and then the words in the dream will be completely different, and that dissonance and that disconnect creates this friction where it evokes understanding. The card, by being something unexpected and unusual, actually gives you as the player permission to also be unexpected and unusual.
Yeah.
We've worked hard to have the image and the word create open space and create an invitation and a sense of possibility.
Night Forest is for anyone that wants to have a profound connecting experience with a group of people. We've played Night Forest at game conventions, at corporate team building exercises. Slack ran a game of Night Forest at their last team meeting. You can play it at a wedding or a funeral.
There's two kind of different modes of using Night Forest. One is if you want to get a group of friends together and just play, and there's a lot of openness in the direction of what memories are coming up and what the themes or focus could be. And then the other way of doing it would be maybe at a team building thing or a wedding or a funeral, which is having more focus on maybe a person or a couple or a shared place, and inviting all the participants to focus their memories around that.
The Night Forest allows you to meet other people and meet yourself in a way, and like connect with these other people in a deep, memorable way. That's one of the ironies of Night Forest, is that you're actually creating these very potent memories.
Yeah.
Where, just the people that I've played with, there's some stories that folks have told me I'm never going to forget, what it felt like to stand alone with them in the forest by candlelight while they shared this story with me. This person over here inspired the game. I've been a game designer for a number of years and really passionate about games my whole life. Mo is a creativity expert who facilitates expressive arts workshops and creativity workshops for groups. And they are like games in a way, except in different. So like things I really wanted to, and Mo's doesn't play a lot of games, so I thought it would be a cool challenge to try and take some of the stuff that I saw happening in her workshops and create a game that had that sense of embodiment, that had that sense of ritual.
There's a lot in there about that started reflecting my work, but then once I started working on it too, there's a lot of just like my values about giving people tools to trust their own timing, empowering people to engage with different parts of themselves and bring those parts into relationship with one another. A lot about embodiment and how do we have an individual experience without feeling alone and without pressure to engage in relationship, but to really just be in relationship with ourselves as part of a whole. So there's a lot of questions that I bring in my work that now are kind of part of this too.
At the end of Night Forest, we are left with either everyone having blown out their candles or one person remaining. Either way, we all leave the forest together and return to our starting point. It's important that as we leave the forest, we make sure that each person has the space to really think about that experience and really gently transition out of that experience at their own pace.
So there's a tendency in games and in other things to like, oh, put it away, like we're done. How was it? Hey, I'm going to the movies later.
Yeah.
And we want there to be a gradual transition. So, okay, so we're finished what looks like the game, but it's not over. Now there's this in-between phase of physically moving towards the closing. And
leaving the forest.
And we're also psychologically, emotionally moving towards the close too, and that place is somewhere in our society that gets really overlooked and really neglected, and it's something that's really important to me to like give back to people, that like I'm not here or here, and that doesn't mean you're nowhere, you're in between. And
then when we get back to the end point, we then take a moment to return the materials, and then everyone's given the opportunity to, if they choose, share a moment from the game, an experience they had, something special that happened.
Or even just how they're doing now.
Yeah.
And I think it's less important the content of what you're saying is less important than just hearing your voice in the circle.
Once everyone's had that opportunity to share or to not share if they so choose, the facilitator says, okay, now we're done, game's over. I'm going to still be here. If anyone wants to talk to me or process things, I can still hold this space. But also kind of getting up and moving around and making it clear that, okay, now folks can gracefully leave if they choose to leave.
Or start talking about things that are unrelated. Finally, we can talk about the movies. Woo!